Something like this allows a person to take a vision and to manifest it and to go through all the steps that it takes to go through. Yeah, it's a pretty awesome thing. Hi, I'm Joe, and this is my bird, Herman, and that is my home back behind me here.
This video is sponsored by Dylan Magaster. Check out our new channel by clicking the link and be sure to subscribe.
I was finishing up a home in Central Oregon, and I had enough financing to go the whole route. As a bed and breakfast, I was going to have it pay off in '09, but it was too little too late. I wound up losing the place. A friend of mine, an old RV for sale, I paid $350 for it. It had been through the mill. There wasn't much, but it ran. I got to stay on some friend's property, and I started tearing this thing apart while living in it. I did it section by section by section. It took about a year to get the main part of it done, 3 years total, about $5K in materials and a lot of work. To be able to do the 2 homes that I had on foundations that I built, I had to be told what I could do and what I couldn't do. I had to change a lot of things to satisfy the rules. None of that, and so I got to take what I had in my head and find a way. Using materials that I've never seen used in the way I used them was a little nerve-wracking. 1.5 inch roof flashing in cases, 2 foot by 2 foot pieces of 2-inch styrofoam, and then it's covered with aluminum. The aluminum makes a great skin too. 032, it's not that expensive, and it's very strong and very durable, and it's held together with Vulcum 116, my favorite building sealant. I just wanted it to have a pointed front end. Most people are killed in head-on collisions, you know, and why have a flat front end when you could have a V of some sort and veer off one another? Unlike the rest of the home, the front end is a steel frame, and it's anchored on top of what was the old bumper. The main posts are 2.5 inch by 2 inch square tubing steel. Then there's a framework 1.5 inch square tubing that makes the rest of the front end. I could afford 13 feet 2 inches to clear bridges and stuff like that, so I could go all the way up, which makes plenty of room in there to move around. I used the windows that were in the vehicle. I saved those and reused them, and I added the skinny windows in between the sections. Those 2 vertical ones were horizontal in the motorhome the way it was. I was wondering whether this one should be there and that one there, you know, to make a different look at the top. This configuration won out. And these are those white plastic fence rails. They don't leak, they're strong, and then they're joined together by 4 or 5.5 inch piece of tempered glass. So that's what connects this to this, a solid connection. It's not segmented at all. That's my makeshift porch. Pieces from a construction company, nothing fancy, but it works. The propane was for the refrigerator that I had and my cook stove, just a 5-gallon. And then we got the corner with the accident, and there was a bunch of snow, and I stepped on the gas at the wrong time, and I collided with my home. I love round windows. It makes a real nice feeling inside, and the frame that you'll see on the inside, I salvaged. It's an old steel frame that was rusting underneath some dirt. That was in 1980, and I kept that frame all these years thinking that I would use it in something, and there it is. I always say to people, no matter what you're building, do something, at least one thing that is unusual. It increases the imagination and the intimacy of having something that's unusual and not just another standard throw together house. Hello, welcome to my home. You're very welcome. It's all salvaged and reclaimed wood that took a lot of milling and fussing with. This wood was tore out of a floor that was probably milled the first part of last century. They did a lot of clear vertical grain flooring in homes. So I took it on the table saw. You open it up and you get the beauty within. From the other side, it's like, yuck. So it didn't cost me anything. This whole wall is done that way. I prefer knotted wood myself because it has more character, but this was available. The flooring in this house is leftovers from a home that I built. It wasn't quite enough, and so I gapped and grouted, which worked. I wound up with just enough wood to do this floor. It's a Tennessee red oak. Red oak gets lighter with UV exposure, whereas Douglas fir gets darker. And this is my new refrigerator that I'm currently in love with. It's just 110, and again, I think a refrigerator is probably the most important thing that modern technology has come up with. We can keep food. These are a file cabinet. They're $10 a piece. You can stack them all the way up, and you can put a lot of stuff in there. And so my dishes and pots and pans. And I would oil those that Herman loves squeaks. And so he could make that noise that you just heard. This is just something I quickly did on the table saw. Cut up some OSB oriented strand board. It really comes in handy. I had a gym or high school clothes locker that I was going to put here, but it was very heavy and came out to about here. So this sits back and you can see more of this beautiful wall. And this is a piece of art that Herman got to. He did a good job on it. And here's that frame that I was talking about earlier. I welded it together. No stain or anything. That's just clear coat on steel. And a porcelain RV toilet. This is what I flush it with here. And this is cooked into the water tank, which is below the sink. And it goes all the way over to here. It holds about 30 gallons of water. And here's the little RV pump. I stick a hose in through the window and fill up the tank and keep the battery charged up, and always have one in water. And that's the off and on switch right here. It's a really simple system. I had a regular switch there, but it burnt out, so it's all I need. This is just countertop. Again, this is salvaged wood. It's a really hard wood, whatever it is. I don't know, and you can see where the fasteners were at. Clamped, sanded, varnished. I learned a long time ago that the stuff that you don't see doesn't matter how it's done because you never see it. I didn't put doors on this because the people are out there, not back here. And if they want to come back here, they might not get a meal. So not only that, it's easier to get to. But this is just a camp stove that I got from one of those sporting good places. I cut off the steel legs that were with it and built this cabinet to fit it. $100 and I got a perfectly good stove. And this is I guess you'd call him my talisman, I guess. I saw this, it was a after Halloween sale at Home Depot and they wanted $150 for it. There, see what I mean? I had a lot of fun with him, and I was hoping that he would have gotten bought by the next day when I had to go to Home Depot. Well, he was still there. So I went up to the customer service lady. She says, "What are you thinking?" And I said, $75, and she said, "Sold." I don't have air conditioning or a furnace, and so I've been heating with wood stove a lot in my life. I can sit in here, watch the fire, and get all warm and cozy when it's, 1 degree outside and the wind's blowing and snow's going horizontally. A friend of mine in Salem had this out on a deck. It was coming apart here and it was frustrating her. And she said, "Joe, do you want this chair?" I said, "Yes." And it's worked out perfectly for me because it rocks nice. I can look out at the Steens and I can sit by the fire. I was an exterminator in the city of Portland. There was a defunct hotel. It had a fire in it. My job was there to go put bait out for mice and rats. It was just going to get tore down. So I snuck this mirror out. And I've had it ever since '83 now. I took piano lessons for 10 years. I had an electronic piano. A friend of mine's kid was real interested in music and I wanted a real piano anyway. A very generous neighbor down the way here took me in his pickup and we went all the way to Nampa. We loaded up this piano. So now I have a real piano. This panel was built in 1912. When you take this front panel off, you can see the different signatures by the tuners over the years. But I looked it up to 1912, and this company turned into Yamaha. My life didn't afford the opportunity or the space or the time or the people to get a teacher and practice. And so at age 40, it's never too late. And I took lessons for 10 years. Here's the loft. You can see there's a lot of room here, and some people are frightened by this thing, especially at my age, but I know all the tricks involved too, and I have to grab, and I discipline myself to grab in certain places. Some people would want a handle or something like that, but I'm just really disciplined about, especially in the night if I have to wake up. Again, it's a really nice space, and I can see all the stars at night. This window, of course, opens up so I can get a breeze through here. So, yeah, this foot has to go first, and I can hook it onto that. Then I know I'm in the right spot. If I'm over here, I fall, kill myself. I'm over here, I might fall and kill myself. So I like I say, discipline. This is my clothes closet now. It was horizontal out in the chicken coop here. It wasn't getting used, it was in a chicken annex. And so I cleaned it up and stood it up and put a door on it. And I have a nice closet to put all my clothes. If you paint this tempered glass in your head, the same color that the sides are painted, you will see post and beam construction. And so this is basically a standard construction. It just doesn't look like it. And you'd think it wouldn't be very private, but with the recesses, it's amazing how little you do see from the outside. It's amazing how much this place stiffened up when I fastened this glass, really made it solid. There's so much light that it's just overpowering, and so I had to use dark. Red and green are nice colors together. The wood shop I worked in for 4 years, the owner would let me use the machinery after hours. These were just scrap pieces of wood that I milled and designed. They can go end to end, side by side. I took a pottery class years ago. We did slab work, so I made something like this out of clay. And then later I used that same design to do this. Yeah, this is the steering wheel, and the motor's still under there. This is where I wind up sitting a lot. It makes a nice footrest, and the kitties like it. I added on that front piece. When I tore the dash out, then there was a bunch of junk that I wanted to cover, and so that made more room also. I have plans for more. If I get the opportunity to build something else, I'm going to take it, because that's really what I care about. In general, plan it all out, every step of the way, as much as you can. And then knowing that once you start into the labor, a lot of people stop because they find out that there's literally thousands of pieces that go into a home, any home. You know, how am I going to get it? Where's the money going to come from? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? Because I've never done it that way. I've never seen it done it that way. Just keep trying and don't give up. And then you'll see a finished project.
Thanks for watching this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing. And I wanted to let you know, if you haven't heard, that we started a second channel. So if you're interested in seeing more of what we've made, things along the lines of adventure, travel, philosophy, click the link in the description below, or click this link right here with my face on it and check out our new channel, Dylan Magaster. And if you enjoy it, consider subscribing. So, big love. Have a great week.